Hey everyone, welcome back to another video. In today's, we're going to continue the conversation of leasing topics in commercial real estate, and we're going to explore some of the different kinds of lease types in real estate. Let's dive in. So on the agenda, we're going to start with how can we differentiate between the different kinds of leases? And we're going to talk about the two main kinds: a full service lease and a triple net lease, to help establish the bookends or the main differences between the full spectrum of the different kinds of leases. So let's start off with a quick example. Let's say it's Friday and it's payday and everyone's happy. Everyone decides to go out to dinner together and you go to a sushi restaurant. So what if you're feeling generous that day and you're like, look, you know what? Just to make things easy and we don't have to try to figure out how to split the bill or to Venmo or Zelle or whatever each other, how about I just pick up the bill now and we'll figure it out later. You can reimburse me later. You can refund me later. So I'll pick up the bill now. I got this. And all of you guys, all of my friends, you will reimburse me later. Now take that exact concept, only applied to real estate. Same process, just bigger bills. So let's say there are all these expenses associated with the property: taxes, insurance, utilities, repairs and maintenance, janitorial, the list goes on. You as the owner say, you know what? Don't worry about this. I got this. I'll pay those expenses. But then you turn around and you say, tenant, in this case, maybe a sushi restaurant, you say, tenant, you can pay me back for your share of the expenses. So not only will you pay rent, but you'll also pay some part of the expenses. It's the same concept as the restaurant with your friend example. You pick up the bill, you pay all of it, and you ask everyone else to chip in for their portion of the bill. So it really becomes one of these almost IOU situations where you are trying to structure a lease where the tenant will either pay or repay you for their share of expenses. So with that, let's begin to segue, right? Let's talk about the two main kinds. So we have one kind of lease, a full service lease, at one end of the spectrum, where the tenant pays only rent. And then you have another kind of lease at the opposite end of the spectrum, called a triple net lease, where they pay rent, in this case blue, but also some share of operating expenses, in this case yellow. So let's talk about the full service lease. So the full service lease means that the tenant pays base rent, but only pays base rent. They don't pay for their share of operating expenses. They don't pay for their share of capital expenses. They are only paying base rent. So if we were to assign numbers to this, maybe they pay $25 per square foot per year. And that's it. So if taxes increase, if insurance declines, if the water bill doubles, it doesn't matter. Tenant is paying $25 per square foot per year. So now let's take a look at the alternative, a triple net lease. So yes, the tenant pays base rent, but they also pay operating expenses. So they'll pay according to their share. So in the dinner restaurant example, your friends are going to split the bill proportionately based on what they ate and drank, right? So in this case, your tenants will split the bill according to how much space that they occupy. So their share of the total. So hypothetically, let's say the tenant occupies 5,000 square feet of a 20,000 square foot space. They occupy 20% of the space, so they should pay 20% of the bill. So this may beg the question then, right? Like, if that's the structure, then maybe where does the name come from? What does triple net even mean? So let's talk about each one of these ends. So the three ends of a triple net. So the first N is the property tax category. The second N is the insurance category. And the last N is the catch-all category or the umbrella category of common area maintenance. Now, don't let the name fool you. CAM, or common area maintenance, is really this umbrella category for everything else that's not taxes or insurance. So maintenance, payroll, personnel, janitorial, you name it. So property taxes, insurance, and CAM make up the global pool of all these operating expenses. But segmenting that way, it makes it a little bit easier for us to differentiate between some of these other lease types, which we'll talk about in another video. So for now, let's say that global category of all three N's, the taxes, insurance, and CAN, amount to $10 per square foot per year. So in this case, the tenant will have to pay both base rent in blue as well as the $10 in expense reimbursements back to the landlord. So just to recap, there is a broad spectrum of the different kinds of leases in commercial real estate, but I thought it'd be important to start off with how do we differentiate between lease types across that spectrum, and which are the two main lease types at either end of the spectrum. So a full service lease and a triple net lease, and what makes them different. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you have any questions, please reach out. Otherwise, thank you for watching, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Take care.